The first song I put online, it was called Why You Fronting? And I put it on SoundCloud, yeah, it was so terrible. Oh my God, please don't go and look for it because you might find it. Hey Teen Vogue, I'm Ella May, and today I'll be sharing with you some of my firsts. My first kiss was in year 8, 8th grade. We used to play like Kisschase in the playground when I was really small, but I don't count that and it's kind of disgusting, so I'm gonna go with 8th grade. Actually, at the end of my block, I lived in New York at this time, and I was trying to make sure my uncle didn't see me, so I ended up running away after. The first time I was starstruck was when I met Beyonce. Actually, it was before I even met Beyonce. It was the first time I saw Beyonce. I've met her now, and I was starstruck again then, because she's just like an angel, honestly. But the first time I saw her, I was starstruck. I didn't say anything to her. It was at the Rock Nation brunch in 2018 when the Grammys were being held in New York. And she walked in the room and it was literally just like everyone just went silent. It was like, ah. So yeah, it would be when I first saw Beyonce. So my first best friend, I actually have 2 of them. I met one right before the other one, but I don't want anyone to get jealous, so I'm gonna say 2 of them. One's called Tamara and one's called Becky. They're my best friends that I've had since I was 3 years old. And we met in nursery at school, and we're actually still best friends to this day. So love you guys. Oh girl. Oh, my ex-boyfriend's gonna be so mad. Oh well. My first breakup, if we're in 2020, it was in 2018. Like my first proper breakup. Like I had a high school breakup, but that doesn't really count in my books. My first proper breakup was in 2018. It was really sad. It was really sad, but you know, a lot was changing in my life. It was hard for both of us to keep up because we also lived in different places. So things were just kind of changing a little bit. It was hard, but we got through it. And as I am with everyone, like I'd still wish him well. And I hope he's doing okay too, that's a message. I have written songs about that experience, yes. I'm not gonna say which one because I don't want anyone to feel any type of way. But there was definitely 2 songs on my debut album about that situation. My first cell phone was a Nokia 610. I can't remember the number of it, but it was like one of those like brick phones. I distinctly remember it was blue and silver. And you couldn't really do much on it other than like, I think text messages were like super basic because the screen was probably about this big, and play Snake. And I was in year 7, so I was in 7th grade. My first concert or music festival, well, it's a concert. It was in 2007, so I was, how old was I? 13. I think it was the Scream tour. So it was Omarion Bauer and Chris Brown, Soulja Boy, and somebody else. I remember it was in Madison Square Garden. I had just moved to New York, and I went with my cousin. If I was to see footage of myself back from that concert, I would probably be very embarrassed, but I had a great time. If I was 13, I wasn't grown enough to like be cute. I was still going through my awkward stage. So I don't even remember what I had on. I probably just had on like I had a House of Darion jacket. So maybe I was wearing that. My first pet, like officially my first pet, is actually my puppy, Thierry. I had cats growing up, but they weren't, one was my brother's. Well, she was technically mine, the second one, so, but I'm gonna say Thierry, my French bulldog. He actually is very independent and very standoffish. He's cuddly when he wants to be. I just couldn't imagine my life without him, so he's just an extra part of me. If you see me, you see him most places. My first tattoo was these roses on the inside of my arm, which are kind of a little bit faded, but they were never super dark. To be honest, there's no like amazing story behind any of my tattoos, to be fair. It's just stuff that I really like, so I decided to put it on my arm. I got it in London, in Shoreditch, by a lady named Sylvia. I can't remember her last name, and I was 19 or 20, I believe. It definitely wasn't a rebellious moment. My mum knew that I was going to get it, and I was with one of my friends, yeah. And I think it took about 4 hours maybe, so it wasn't too bad. And this part of your arm is quite fleshy, so I wasn't in too much pain. But I was like obsessed because it was my first tattoo, so in every picture I'm like... The first movie that made me cry, I want to say Titanic, but I feel like that's the obvious answer, and I can't even remember if Titanic actually made me cry. But I can tell you, oh, but then it's not first. Never mind. I'm gonna go with Titanic. The most recent movie to make me cry is called Miracle in Cell Number 7. It's actually originally a Turkish film. And I actually struggle to watch films that have subtitles, but this one caught my attention from the jump, but it just made me cry so much because it's such a sad story. about a little girl having to part ways with her dad who has autism. It's really, really sad. Thinking about it is making me sad, but it was a really, really good movie. I watched that during quarantine, actually. My first role model would be my mom or my grandma. I kind of put them in the same bracket because I feel like they both raised me. But just being able to grow up and watch two very strong, independent Black women has helped shape me into the woman I am today. So thank you, Mum. Thank you, Grandma. My first AIM username was, okay, let me give you some background. I had just moved to New York and I think it was 2008 because I got a sidekick in 2008, I think. And my first AIM username was Lil, L-I-L, Miss London X. Lil Miss London X. The first time I sang or performed in front of anyone, I was probably really small. I've been singing since I was little, so it was probably like my mum or my brother or my grandma like in the kitchen into a hairbrush or something. It was probably when I was little. I don't remember like an actual age. If I'm talking about something that I fully remember as a performance, I used to go to performing arts school, and I remember when I was about 8 or 9, I think, or maybe even younger, we performed West Side Story, which is my favorite musical. And I played Anita. And that was like my first thing in front of like a real big audience other than like school plays and stuff. If I'm remembering correctly, I just remember feeling very at home. Like I just felt like I belonged on the stage. And like I said, I had been performing in like some school plays before, but that was to obviously a much smaller audience. But yeah, I just felt so at home and free when I was on the stage. I actually got into songwriting really late. The first song that I wrote, I was 18, maybe even 19. So it seems a little bit late because sometimes I think when you think about songwriting, you have to like done it since you were a child. But I went to school for music and we actually had a songwriting class. And that's the first time I actually picked up a pen to write a song because I always thought you had to be some type of like poetic poet to write songs. But it was about a guy like not giving me the attention that I wanted, I think. And me just like questioning like, why are you doing this to me? This is so embarrassing. I never want to hear that song again, to be honest. I wish I never showed it to anyone, but that was the first. And people liked it, but I don't know if they were like, they're probably just lying to me, to be honest. The first time I knew I wanted to be a singer, I couldn't tell you at age, I just knew. I used to do performing arts, so it was singing, dancing, and acting. But as I got older, I realized that singing was really my passion. So maybe somewhere around my teenage years. My first television performance was on the 2018 BET Awards. I was performing Boot Up. That was actually a really memorable performance for me. Not only it being the first time I'd performed at an award show and on TV, but I just remember they introduced me, Chloe and Halle introduced me. The whole audience stood up and I was just like, I wasn't even prepared for that. So it was a really cool moment. My first time in a recording studio, I was 12, I think. My big cousin in New York knew this guy called Butch who owned a studio, or I don't even know if he owned it, but he somehow got us there. And my cousin Jade and I, she's gonna love that I'm telling this story. My cousin Jade and I went into the studio and I think I recorded some separate stuff too, but we also recorded a version of 112's Peaches and Cream, but it was called Cookies and Cream because that was our favorite ice cream. So that was my first time in a recording studio, and I never actually got the other stuff that I recorded, but I was 12, so it probably sounds ridiculous, but it was in New York. My first award show was the 2018 BET Awards when I performed. My first awards were my Soul Train Awards, and I didn't actually get to go to the awards because I was on SNL that weekend, I remember, but I won 3 Soul Train Awards. Best R&B song, best female R&B artist, and I can't remember the last one. Damn, I should know this. But yeah, I won 3 Soul Train Awards, and those were my first awards. I wish the first time I heard my music on the radio was a way more exciting story. But I just remember I was leaving the studio. It was about 3 in the morning, and I used to have a little Mini Cooper. That was my first car, that's another first. Yeah, I turned on the radio, I was driving home at like 3 a.m. and Boot Up came on the radio, and I was by myself. So I remember I called Mustard, like, and luckily he was in the studio because it was 3 a.m. but I was like, I hope he's not sleeping. I was like, I'm on the radio, and he's like, are you just now realizing that like you've been on the radio? It was like quite late into Boot Up success, but I don't listen to the radio that much. So the first time I saw my song on the Billboard charts, I remember we debuted at number 78 with Boot Up, and I couldn't believe it. I honestly, like, I kept rereading it like, hold on, I don't know if this is a glitch. But I just remember being super excited, and then it climbed really quickly. and we eventually got to number 5. Yeah, that was a very, very special moment. I can't remember where I was. I just remember being really excited. The first time I was recognized in public, there's like 2 different first times. So there's a first time of me being recognized in public as like the girl who sings on Instagram, and then there's the first time I got recognized in public as like LMA. So when I started, I did covers. I remember going back to New York to visit my friends. I want to say we went to the supermarket and someone was just like, hey, aren't you that girl that sings on Instagram? I was like, yeah. But this was early. This was like 2016, I think. And then once it transitioned, after I stopped doing my covers and I started putting out my own music, the first time I got recognized in public, I think it was in LA. I can't actually remember it. My memory is terrible. Now that you're asking me all these firsts, I'm like, damn, I don't remember. But I definitely do remember that it was in LA. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching my first with Teen Vogue. Make sure you stay healthy during these very, very weird times. Make sure you stay around a lot of love. And make sure you go and check out my new single, Not Another Love Song, on all platforms now.